Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. The last 2 or 3 days, I've been reposting older teachings that I went back into the archives and posted onto Facebook and on YouTube, okay? Today is my first live teaching since last week. But I wanted to do a part 2 to Mark chapter 7, verse 19. The one that I posted yesterday, I recorded that in September of 2018. It's actually dated 9/20 of 18. Okay, and the reason I wanted to talk a little more about that today, that little teaching turned into a series where I was talking about that nowhere did God tell mankind to start eating anything he wanted to, okay, and call it food, okay, to just pick up anything or kill any animal or whatever and then call it a menu item and add it to the human consumption list, okay. For some reason, that's what we've been brought up to believe, okay? And then we have the far side of people in religion who think that they can just pray over anything, put it in their mouth, eat it, digest it, and it won't hurt them. Guys, that's not true. It's not true with rat poison. It's not true with arsenic. It's not true with poison ivy and poison oak. It's not true about the puffer fish, which has, I believe it's enough poison in one little puffer fish to kill like 20 human beings if it's not prepared correctly. So there's a lot of things that we know that even if we want to call it food, it's really not food, okay? So I want to talk a little more about yesterday's teaching, okay? When I started talking, back in February about becoming a vegetarian and then becoming vegan, which means plant-based only. Vegetarian means that you're not eating any animal meat at all, not even fish or chicken. Those are animals. So vegetarian means no animals at all, no animal flesh or meat. Vegan, today, that's what they call people who are plant-based only. That means no meat of any animal, nor do you consume any of the byproducts like milk, eggs, cheese, or any dishes made with those things mixed in it, okay? So I had started praying, and I said this in my testimony in February about this, and I can look real quick and tell you when my testimony was about that, but that was back in February, like February the 3rd or something like that, okay? And I was saying that, I started praying and asking the Lord why I would see some people healed, some people didn't seem to get healed at all, okay? And guys, I've seen such tremendous miracles. I've had the honor of teaching and traveling and teaching about healing, and I've seen 6 people raised from the dead. Okay, I have laid hands on over 3,000 people. I've seen people get up out of hospice beds, riddled with cancer that's been given 2 days or less to live, and they get up and live, okay? So when you see these kind of miracles and healings, you start asking yourself, okay, Lord, I know that when I walk in, I'm expecting Him to flow through and out of me and His power to manifest in every single person. And so when I don't see the things that I speak and believe for, and I've talked about that, when I speak something, it's like me throwing a football and it's swirling in the air headed toward the destination. And when I don't see that thing happen, of course I start asking questions, because I don't think that my faith is going up and down and all around, okay? Especially when you've seen someone raised from the dead. And I see animals out in my backyard. I like to say, I practice on animals that, like birds that hit the house and stuff, because it just keeps my faith built up, okay? So I started praying and asking the Lord why some people seemed not to get healed. Some people did get healed but didn't stay healed. And He showed me several different things back when I first started praying and asking. Some of the stuff I already knew He had taught me, like unclean spirits that are oppressing a person, and you have to get that off of them prior to their body being able to respond and do what you tell it to do, right? It's kind of like the big elephant sitting on the 5-year-old. The 5-year-old is not getting up out of the floor to obey mommy if he can't stand up because something heavy's on him. And that's what an unclean spirit feels like to someone who can't get healed. It's something oppressing them, okay? And then, of course, many times people are on medicines and they've not even talked to the doctor. The doctor hasn't talked to them. They haven't read up about the side effects. Okay, so you can actually be healed of a sickness and not know it because you're still taking medicines, and those side effects are going to keep happening until you figure out how to get off those medications, okay? And then as time went on, though, the Lord started talking to me about diet, okay? And I had already started studying diet when I did these recordings about Mark 7:19, where Jesus did not, okay, or I pray that you're listening to me, Jesus did not upset and turn the apple cart upside down that day and say, okay, it's a free-for-all now. Anything you want to call food, I'm going to expand the menu. We're just going to have a big free-for-all here in the earth, and I'm going to go against everything that I'm supposed to fulfill through the law. I'm just going to override everything. He did not do that, guys. That little phrase in parenthesis, Jesus declaring or making all foods clean, was added later on. Okay, the old manuscripts do not have that phrase in it, and it is strongly believed, and I happen to be one of those who don't. I do not believe Mark wrote that, the author, whoever Mark is, that he is not the one that added that, or it would be in the old manuscripts as well, okay? I believe over time a scribe was trying to make a note and say what he believed Jesus was trying to do. I want you to think about this, though, okay? Let's think this thing through. You do not see all these people going and having barbecue. They didn't go and kill pigs and start eating barbecue. They didn't start eating the what is called the unclean animals and eating them. You just don't see that happening, okay? In fact, I want to take you back to last week when I taught on Acts chapter 10, Acts chapter 11, and Acts chapter 15. In all three places in the book of Acts, Peter himself tells us what his vision was of all the animals on the sheet. It was a four-cornered sheet that came down out of heaven with every kind of animal, not just clean, but clean, unclean, every type of beast and animal was on that sheet, okay? And he says, Lord, I haven't eaten anything off of that entire sheet. Nothing like that has ever gone into my mouth. Clean, common, or even uncommon. So let's talk about that. Peter was there the day that this happened in Mark chapter 7. He's the one that asked Jesus what Jesus was talking about to the Pharisees about the hand washing. This whole Mark 7:19 is about picking up a piece of bread, not animal meat, a piece of bread, and the Pharisees are giving Jesus a hard time about that, and Jesus explains that touching food with your hands, whether it is a unclean hand, unwashed, or a perfectly clean hand that just got through washing from the fingertip to the elbow, that did not affect whether the bread, spell bread for me. It doesn't say meat, it says bread. That did not defile the bread that they were putting in their body, okay? And then, as I was talking about in Acts, Peter actually says, Lord, I haven't changed my diet. What are you talking about? Okay. Here we are, Acts chapter 10 is a long time after Mark 7. Let me find that for you. This is at least 8, if not 10 years after probably 10 years after Mark 7 and about 8 years or so after the crucifixion event, okay? So let's think this thing through, okay? Now, I understand that a lot of people don't like hearing what they should or should not eat. They don't want God to tell them what they can and cannot eat, and they surely do not want a snippet lady in Summerville, Tennessee to tell them what they should or should not be eating. And I'm not trying to make a decision for you. What I'm trying to do is give you information that will help you walk in health. I see so many Christians that want to live according to the way that they want God to work and not the way that God actually says He will. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I see so many Christians walking around overeating at buffets, eating 7 and 8 plates of food. They're obese, well overweight, and obese, I believe, is considered 30 pounds overweight. They're overeating, they're eating the wrong things, their own medications, they're sick, and they're going to every healing meeting they can to get somebody to pray for them so they can get healed. Okay? And we need to really get alone with the Lord and ask Him, what do I need to do to cooperate with you so I can walk in divine health? Okay? Why would I drive around in my car, okay, with a damaged tire on it, and every time I turned around I had to call somebody to air the tire up? Why don't I figure out why I'm having a flat, go and get the thing fixed so it doesn't go flat on me every week or every month, okay? And that's what I'm talking about right here. Why are we so determined that we must eat whatever we want to because the Bible tells me that I can, and Jesus said that I can, but we're not healthy? What we're putting in our body is making us sick. And, if we would just get in sync with our body and let our bodies have the food that God created it to need and operate off of, the nutrition that it needs. And now I'm going back to Genesis 1:29, guys. If we would live according to Genesis 1:29, God spoke what He wanted mankind to eat. He's not double-minded. He has made concessions for double-minded men, and He has loved us through our poo-poo, but He has not changed His mind. He did not recreate our bodies to run on a different kind of fuel, okay? He created us to be plant-based eaters. Plant-based eaters do not have the United States, oh my goodness, we consume more meat and animal byproducts, milk, eggs, cheese, and it's in everything we eat, everything we consume. In fact, I'll give you an example. I can ask you what you want for breakfast, and immediately you decide what kind of pork you want. Bacon, ham, sausage, what kind of pork. What do you want for lunch? Hamburger or chicken, automatically in our mind, right? Or maybe a Mexican restaurant that can serve some pork even at lunch. At nighttime, what do you want to have for dinner? Bam, what kind of meat are we going to eat? We are consumed with the consumption of animal meat and animal byproducts, and it is showing up in our bodies in the form of sickness, okay? And God showed me this over 2 years ago. Right after I did this teaching, guys, on 9/20 of 18, and I'd already been studying this for a few months before I taught on this, okay? Then I went vegetarian within a month because I knew that animal meat was not good for me, and I gave up all animal meat. But the Lord did not leave me alone on that, and I started studying even deeper, and I became a vegetarian the end of the year 2019, and I've given you my testimony about that. Now, I'm not bossing people. I'm not telling people what they can or cannot eat or that God's mad at them. I'm telling you what God's perfect will was in the beginning, and it's still His perfect will, and it's always going to be His perfect will. The only thing that changes is your decision as to whether you want to walk in His will, His good, perfect will for you in your health, or do you want to go from one flat tire to the next? That's called living the way you want to live, but having the choices that you make manifest in sickness, and you're not walking. I want to walk in divine health and be a good representation of the kingdom of God. I don't love my ribeye or my cheese or anything else enough for people to look at me and wonder why I'm supposed to be walking in divine health, but I can't. because I want to cooperate with my Father in this earth and represent His kingdom to my very absolute best ability. And for me alone, I'm not telling anybody else what they have to do. I'm telling you this is what He has shown me. This is what He wants for every single believer so we can walk in divine health and not be sick. I'm going to sign off here, and I'll see you here tomorrow. I love you. Bye-bye.